Hi, I'm Corey Gilmore, and this is Adaptive Technology Today. This is episode 7, I believe, and today we're going to talk about something a little different. Normally, I talk about various devices or phones or um, operating systems like Windows or Mac or Linux, but today I want to talk about net neutrality. This is a big issue, and it seems to be a big issue that not a lot of people know about, which is why I want to spend some time on it, because it's important to understand, because it impacts what we can do on the internet. You know, over the past couple episodes, we've been talking about different things we can do with smartphones and smartwatches and home automation and all this good stuff. Well, the reason that all works is because we have Wi-Fi. It's everywhere. You can connect and get all your information wherever you're at. But it means that we're all pretty dependent on a fairly high-speed internet source. So the idea with net neutrality is that the pipe shouldn't care what's in the pipe. So, in other words, like, my internet provider shouldn't care if I'm watching Netflix, if I'm talking to Siri, if I'm watching Hulu Plus. It shouldn't matter. It should all be treated the same. But what's happening is that the cable companies and other companies, I don't want to just throw the cable companies under the bus, there's many other internet service providers who say, well, wait a minute, we provide video on demand, right? We'll make our stuff go faster, so it'll be a better experience, so we'll get more people watching our stuff and less people watching Netflix. Or less people doing Hulu, and they'll spend more money on our video on demand or our services than they will on other competing services. So part of net neutrality says that this shouldn't happen. You shouldn't give priority to one service over another. And that's the idea. It's a big problem right now that the cable companies also provide internet because they always favor their own streaming services over any others. So, and that's really going to what does this have to do with adaptive technology? Well, as I said, everything that we do, particularly as people with disabilities, I have trouble, for instance, going to the library. So the internet provides the library. I can go search the web for anything I want and find information about it. But to do it, I have to have a really good internet connection, and even to talk to Siri. Siri is not on my phone. Siri is on a server somewhere, probably in North Carolina, because that's where Apple has its server farm. And when I push the button on my phone, it goes and connects to the server, and I can talk to it and say what I need. But without a good internet service that's not um, biased by what's on it, Siri doesn't work, and Google Now doesn't work. Um, and the other part of net neutrality says that if I pay for internet per month, I shouldn't have to worry about how much I use that internet in a month. Many of the internet companies, including the cable companies, will charge you overages if you stream uh, over so many gigabytes of data. Okay, but videos typically are, and particularly high definition videos, which we're all going to now because we think it's necessary. It's not, by the way, but that's a different topic. But we all think it's necessary. So these high definition videos, there's several gigabytes of data in a movie. So if you're streaming several movies a day or whatever, you go over your cap in no time. So it's really important to have an internet service provider who understands that you have already paid for the month. You don't need to pay again because you've gone over some imaginary limit that they decide to set. That's ridiculous. And it's an artificial limit designed for them to make more money because the cable company can say, "Oh, you went over your 15 gigabyte limit or whatever it was. Oh, well, that's no problem. We have a higher plan, and you can have faster internet speeds with a higher cap." And the problem is that the higher the cap is, the more you stream, so the more you go over your cap. So it's really important not to have an internet service provider with caps. And also, my feeling generally is probably not to have one that's powered by the cable company because they're going to always favor their own services. Because what they can do is say, "Oh, our video on demand stuff doesn't count against your cap." And, so that places, things like Netflix at an unfair advantage. And unfair disadvantage, sorry. Um, you know, and that's not right. Um, the Federal Trade, the Federal Communications Commission is currently looking at net neutrality. Now, the chairman has said all kinds of wonderful things. He says that we don't want two internets, one fast and one slow. But the reality of the current proposal, and it's just a proposal, it's not law yet, but the reality of the current proposal is that what happens is, these services like Netflix and others go to the cable companies and they say, "You're slowing our speeds down. You're throttling our speeds." So they say, "Well, if you'd like to pay a little bit more, we can give you faster speed." And so Netflix has been paying some of the cable companies money to ensure that the video playback is good. Sounds fine, except that what's going to happen with that is that you and I will end up having to pay for it because the cost of that will be passed on to the consumer. So all these services that we need to make things happen, like to watch what we want to watch. And by the way, Netflix and all that stuff is about accessibility because, um, like uh, my girlfriend has trouble with the TV remote, but she can sure enough run the iPad by herself and put on a movie if she wants to. Okay, we have an Apple TV. She knows how to do all these things. That makes it very accessible to her, and therefore she likes to watch a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows on Netflix. We want to watch what we want to watch. We don't want to watch what the cable company decides we want to watch.
We don't want commercials.
Yeah, and we don't want commercials. That's very important. Um, for the amount of money that we pay for cable and whatnot, I still don't understand why we have commercials. I don't get it. So but she goes on the iPad, picks a movie, and puts it on the TV, and so we're very very much dependent on Netflix and other services for our independence because we don't have to ask people for help with us. But if the price gets too high because Netflix and Hulu and all the others have to pay the internet service providers extra money to ensure better quality or whatever, then we're not going to be able to afford all that stuff. And, their cable companies or whoever will keep their monopoly and, we'll never get anywhere in terms of home automation or being independent because we need reasonable speed on the internet for this to happen. So the reason I'm doing this as a topic today is the discussion on these guidelines is still going on. So I would encourage everyone to look them up. They're just guidelines right now. Don't worry, you don't have to repeal laws. There's no law yet. But look them up and get a hold of your congressman and say we don't want two internets. We don't want caps on our internet when we pay. We pay a certain fee per month for a certain speed, and that's what we expect. Because the honest truth is, even if you don't think you use the internet a lot, how often are you on your phone checking Facebook? Guess what you're using?
Mm-hmm.
The internet. How often do you get text messages from your kids? Stuff like this. It all adds up, and what will happen is that your data fees on your phone will go up because they can, because it's not promoting a fair and balanced internet. That's what we really want. It's a neutral internet that doesn't care what we do. I can watch a movie or I can research an article. It shouldn't matter. So get a hold of whoever you can get a hold of and say it's our internet. We pay for it. Don't stop screwing it up. People are listening, so make sure that you get a hold of everyone you can, um, governors, senators, representatives, um, neighbors, educate people, because it's going to impact the kind of internet we get if we just say, oh, it doesn't matter. It's going to mean there's a lot of things that we, as people with disabilities, aren't going to be able to do because we're not going to have the speed and the quality of the connection to do it. So, anyway, I know it's a debate. I fully expect that I will get tons of comments, and you know what? Bring them on, because it's scary to think that we just gonna let the big companies who have internet, TV, and phone do whatever they want, So, with that, I'd like to say thank you to the TWIT team for their inspiration, and good night, Lou Laporte, wherever you are.